based on my individual investigation over the years and as an independent analyst, I have come to realize this important reality with all clarity. The cost of Biafra, the cost of Biafran agitation is bigger than an individual. The movement for the restoration of the independent state of Biafra is bigger than individual. And definitely no individual could stand on the way of the people when the determination is strong, when they have resolved and determined to define their own future. No single individual could stand on their path. So anyone in any disguise presenting his or herself as an enemy of the people, it doesn't matter whether you are being induced or bribed, you are doing that to the detriment of your people. You are doing that to the detriment of your own self. How do I mean? It doesn't matter how much involved, but the truth remains, you cannot succeed, because it is about the destiny, or it's about the struggle for survival, it's about the struggle for the preservation of the cultural heritage and identity of a people. Down the memory lane, we've understood that no one who stood against the independence of their own people, the emancipation of the own people, by way of sabotaging the cause of the liberation of their people, that definitely ended well. The person naturally should be accosted. That is the truth, because you can't be sabotaging the cause of the liberation of your people is trampling on the blood, on the sacredness of the human blood that have been shed, those who fought to defend their dignity, their cultural identity and heritage. So doing that without understanding the consequences and the implications is more detrimental, it's more devastating, it's more dangerous than what anyone could even envisage. What am I saying? Based on my investigation and analysis across the world, those who fought for the liberation were not just only determined, but resolved to lay down their lives for the cause of emancipation. Freedom is not given, but taken. They understood that. The Declaration of the United States was just about few people were involved in that. It may not be about the majority, but about a single majority who understood what it means, the value, the dignity, the honor in freedom, in being independent. I mean, being independent, not just being controlled by some new colonial conventions and the rest of them. Being independent implies having the ability and the free will to decide and pursue your future, your aspirations, and living without any stringent attachment or conditions that could hamper your success, exploring your God-given potentials without boundaries or limitations, provided it is done within the framework of fundamental rights of humans and their privileges. This is quite interesting. So from the investigations and what I was told, I was related to by my father and some uncles who saw the waves of the war, who was greatly imparted by God. So the sacrifice of the heroes, the sacrifice of those who has committed honestly to the cause of the freedom of their people can never be in vain. It doesn't matter. So any person coming or any generation coming to sabotage such is definitely going to collapse. It's just a matter of time. You can't stand the test of time because you are building on nothing. The foundation of the emancipation has already been laid by over 5 million lives wasted, some starved to death, some gruesomely murdered, some, in fact, it was a very horrifying development in the annals of history that will not be forgotten. So those sacrifices of the heroes past, the little children who were starved to death, are the heroes of this freedom, are the heroes, of course, and must definitely be held with all sacredness. So any individual, whether you are the one or any other person, or myself trying to sabotage the cause of Biafra independence, well, it's doing that to his or her own destruction. In fact, he shouldn't even contemplate that in the first instance, because definitely he is not going to succeed. In fact, he will go down in history as not just a saboteur, as people that are caused. You can imagine on the part the people of Israel were exiting Egypt to the promised land, the Canaan land. Something eventually happened. You know, Korah, they spring up, they rose up, they believe they are more intelligent, they believe they are more eloquent and vibrant and orator. They backed their degrees in Harvard, in other choice universities across the regions then. So they believe they have the pedigree or what it takes to lead the people. Mind you, there are people who are born, designed for this purpose. So if you are not destined to lead the cause of emancipation, definitely you will flop. That is just a matter of fact. When you see those who are groomed, who are commissioned ahead of time, and burdened to fight, to lead the cause of emancipation, definitely their antecedents and actions will reveal to you. Their body language and their actions will definitely reveal. Regardless of whatever may be the distractions, just as I cited, Moses kept his eyes on the ball. He kept his eyes on the ball. He was not deterred by not just the threat of Pharaoh. Now it's within his own people, mixed multitude. He saw Korah, he saw even Miriam, his own sister, rose against her. And definitely the wrath of Elohim fell on them. The wrath of Elohim, the Most High, the Lord who is interested in the emancipation, in the salvation of the people. For God is interested in the prosperity of his people. Prosperity implies freedom. The freedom to live and explore your God-given potentials, to maximize the potentials and fulfill destiny, become a force to reckon with, enhance human development and capability. That is what prosperity implies. Having to meet your need and surpass them, meet the need of others, explore and discover things that will enhance the human development and existence. So God is interested in the cause of freedom. That is why anybody fighting for the emancipation of their own people will do that to his or her own destruction. Well, this is not just scolding anyone, but that is the reality, and this is a statement of fact. Whether you like it or not, does not change the principle, and it applies across regions, across stratas, across race and nations. So these are global principles that will govern the entire human space and existence. And even God referred in the book of creation, that eventually when he saw the determination, the resolve of the people to build a nation, to build a tower that will stand as a symbol of identity and reference to their existence within that generation, God said, not just because they are building to defend, to build an identity for themselves, but because of the motive behind. That was why God said, no, their motive behind was against his pre-intention for human existence, that he intended human to spread and not to congregate at a point. To spread. Spread means having liberty to explore, not to be stuck in the wheel of motionless and despair, just as what is happening within the defined configuration known as Nigeria today. Nobody is happy. I boarded a bus on my way back home yesterday. I saw where people are lamenting, where people in anguish. People are living in frustration in this country. In fact, the frustration is too much that it's no longer bearable. And this is an evidence and a testament to the fact that people needed independence, that Nigerians are not yet free from the shackles of oppression, from the intimidations, exploitations of the political class and the Western, of course, manipulators and the rest of them. Nigerians aren't free. Nigerians aren't free. They are not free. Everybody complaining. The elderly. In fact, what brought my attention is the elderly. The elderly among them of Yoruba extraction criticized it. He was pouring out his. You see, when somebody is talking and you can see through his heart that the person is bleeding, he wasn't happy with the tribal administration. I don't know if anyone cares to hear this, but that is the truth over what is happening. That is the reality. So if the primary essence of governance is being defeated, is being ruined, then what is left for the people? Again, there's no security to life and property. There is no intention or deliberate intention or move by the government to better the lot of the people. The man was complaining of multiple taxation. He said even the economy is dead. Nothing like about the economy of this country that is dead. That the survival of many households today is just minimal. The chances of survival is minimal. Sadly, we have not seen the worst. This is what this man was saying, that by the time 2026-27, correlating with the projection of the World Bank statistics that was released, was it earlier this year or so, that by 2027, that more Nigerians will sink abysmally in poverty, will be impoverished. And when the man was thinking that, I reflected over this World Bank projection and this economic projections about the Nigeria and the rest of them. Now, in the newspaper, I also saw that as a result of poor yield, that Nigerians are going to suffer famine. There will be scarcity of food. What has led to the poor yield of farm produce? In the first place, these people are just deceiving themselves. There is nothing like poor yield as far as Nigeria is concerned. Nigeria is blessed with arable land, prosperous land, fertile land that is good for agriculture, that could feed nations, not just a country. But insecurity, the terrorists has taken over the forest beds. So any person saying, because you see, that's why most of these Nigerian newspapers are very destructive. They are not helping issues. Why? Because their owners are either dining or cruising with these political elites. So they want to create narrative and push false narrative out there for people to buy into. How comes you tell me that the arable lands and the fertile lands of the Benue, that happens to be the food basket of the nation, do not yield its produce? Who are there to plant? If you don't plant, how do you harvest? People could no longer go to their farms, could no longer do farming. Even in the farming seasons, people were lamenting. The Benue people, the Plateau, those regions that produce mass productions of foods and arable crops are no longer going to farm. So how will you yield results if you don't plant? So these are the lies and deceptive propagandas being pushed out and narratives being pushed out there by the media, this conventional media and the newspaper and the rest of them. It is quite destructive. That is doing more damage to the situation than good. How could you tell me that the arable lands of Plateau, Zamfara, Taraba, and the rest of them, even in the southern region, that people could no longer go to farm? Gunhia, they were protesting. People were angry that they are being killed in their own farms in the southwest region. The same thing applies in the eastern region. They have taken over the forest beds with intention to cause inflation, scarcity of food, because when there is another strategy of war, once they could displace the people from their farmlands, definitely there will be scarcity of food, which will greatly impact on the strength and ability of the people to resist any invasion. Yes, that is just part of the strategy being deployed, and yet the government has failed woefully, unless they prove otherwise tomorrow, which is not visible by the current arrangement and what we are seeing on ground. The military have come to say, we don't expect us to protect you. Yet when the people want to protect themselves, you're fighting them. So why I digress a little is to tell you, for you to appreciate the needs. When people say they want to protect themselves and you are going against them, they want to defend themselves and carve a nation where dignity, human dignity, and life will be respected, where the fundamental human right, where people will live in harmony and cohabit, explore the opportunities and advance at their own pace. You said you want to sabotage it for a porridge of yam, for a porridge of hot soup, for monetary incentive and inducement. It is quite unimaginable and the height of rascality. But such person will never go free. There's nothing like might not at this point. So I have to be very blunt and very straightforward to this. If you're the one, then count yourself a man heading to the cliff. That is just the case. Now, another thing I have also found out is that whether you like it or not, you cannot doubt the resolve, the determination of the people to get their freedom. It doesn't matter the measure of oppression meted out, marshaled out to silence the people. You cannot, because it is about human instinct. This survival issue is about the human instinct. The human instinct will not be cowed, will not be silenced, because if under unfavorable situations, will definitely chart a way out of it. So anybody thinking he could silence the people, you are doing that in error. Yes, you're doing that out of your stupidity and ignorance. So Biafrans should be at the watch out. Now, I'm talking as an independent analyst based on my findings, observations, and interests in most recent days, in most recent years. Yes, I've been following up all this, and I could relate it with what is currently happening. There is a positive side to what is happening among the Biafrans today. You can see some groups trying to disagree with each other. There is a positive aspect in that. That is telling you that an average Biafran will not take nonsense. An average Biafran is not a Nigerian that could absorb, swallow whatever is thrown to him. So that is a positive aspect. You see people fighting even the constituted leaders positively, not that they are fighting them to bring them down, because they're telling them, we can't afford to be led by mediocres. You must step up your games. We needed result. That is what they are saying. It is not that they are against Biafra, majority of them, but for few of them who think they are fighting for their vested interests, will definitely destroy themselves. It's just a matter of time. But from what I have seen happening, especially in Biafra Republic government in exile, it is good. There is a positive aspect. When I pondered over this aspect, I was very excited, because what that is saying, that an average Biafran cannot take nonsense, even when eventually the government or the independence of Biafra is fully restored. People cannot take nonsense from any elected office holder. It's either you deliver on the mandate or you resign. Don't come there and tell us story. We know where we are coming from. So if you assign any responsibility, make sure you sit up. Don't come and give us excuses. You have to be alert, mentally, emotionally, psychologically alert to pick the language of the people, the emotions of the people. So that is the good aspect of it. Don't think they are trying to scatter the quest of the restoration of the Biafra state. These are something many people will understand. And another thing, don't pinch your tent against anyone, because certainly they will come together and reconcile, and eventually you become the enemy at last. What am I saying? Just like Ogenkere, Bam 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 and the rest of them, Adade Orama and the rest of them, when they will reconcile, because they want to define a common front, and you would agree with them at the latter end. Just as some person has argued that Raphael Ajere called the PM, Prime Minister names, and the rest of them, called him Sabotage, and the rest of them. You could not imagine that thereafter they also become pals. They also define a common front to work together. To imagine if you have taken side, fighting, being embittered, you create and develop hatred for Van or PA. And when those things were hot, we are heated up. You see, they are defining a path, and you see, that is an aspect of friction that is good. Friction is good in human life and in everyday life. Without friction, you will not move smoothly and confidently on the floor, because moving on a smooth floor will get your bones or heads fractured. So it is important. So what I want to say is that don't take anything personal. So So be guided by the principles and ideology that you are fighting a common enemy, not yourselves. So because definitely, don't be surprised. Okay, Kere, that might sit definitely on a round table tomorrow and be laughing and chanting. And you have developed blood pressure and the rest of them. You're fighting, and why you don't even know when they will reconcile. So it is possible, the window is possible, and in as much as they remain in that quest. So whatever is happening shouldn't take your entire attention out of the main focus. That is what I want to pass through, because definitely if you took it personally, a day will come, they will reconcile, and you will still be nursing your own grudges and pain. So I have learned not to have enemies, but if the person or my spirit tells me this person is against the cause of Biafra, but for now, concerning these people I've told you, mark it somewhere. Nobody wants to sabotage the cause of Biafra. It's individual differences and sometimes ego. Ego is what is playing out, but they should also learn to give up that their personal and selfish egos and the rest of them, and find a common front that could enhance and facilitate the cause of emancipation of the people. Because as leaders, the people looks up to you, and they must live up to that responsibility and place of accountability. That is what I will want to say in this course. And again, it is needless using the common scarce resources to fight one another. Taking them or dragging them to court, you are just not being prudent. You cannot use the common resources that will be used to feed the children, and you are using it to go and play cha-cha. It's just like going to play Babi Jabu while there is no food left for the home, and you're hoping on the luck that the two direct will draw, and the rest of them. You can imagine that at the height of rascality. And I think those concerned will definitely understand that you can't be spending the hard common resources of the people fighting yourself. That would be the height of irresponsibility and stupidity on any person that may want to do that. They must, as a matter of necessity, find a common ground to reconcile and forge ahead. That is coming from Chigos and Debo. Let me have your own take regarding this development and what you think about that. Because as a onye lawa ga-alarube, ọ ga na-alakwa, and that is just the case. But if ọ bụ na ịlarube njem ị na-eme, then you are stuck amidst the road, confused, then you must have a think. Either you are losing your senses, or perhaps something is wrong with you, or you are wrong with something. But any man in his right senses must understood. Abulo nije, ike gwuru nije ya, ọ na-eji ije ya na-ele anya, mgbe chọọ ya si, gịnị kpaliri mmụọ ya, ya si na olileanya dị ngọzi. The Biafrans are in the process of liberating themselves, and definitely whatever that could be done to achieve that, I believe the people are committed to that, and they are not taking chances. So don't think they are there to joke. So that's why most of them can go at all, and they are frowning at anyone who is perceived to be sabotaging the cause of Biafra. But what I consider happening now is not a cause of sabotage, but ego and inability to understand each other. Of course, they have worked amicably before, and eventually, just as I have said, if Biafra can come, the Simon Ekpa, a criminal, a saboteur, and the rest of them, some people are just volatile, you know. When it is hot, you see them be totally, in fact, you can imagine what will be coming from their mind, from their mouth, but the same people will come back and apologize to their individual differences and makeup. Temperament is being wired, but then on a dema onye na-eme na-atụ mmadụ mbọ ori anụ mmadụ ya tụkwa onwe ya mbọ. Ịghọtara? Ọ bụ otu ọha m n'ọnụ nwanne unu nwoke Chigozie Ndị Igbo. Chigozie Ndị Igbo is a statement, is a prophecy that must be fulfilled. Chukwu ga-agọzi, that prophecy will definitely be fulfilled when the people could sing the Lord's song, not in a strange land, but in their promised land. Thanks for watching. Let's have your own reactions regarding this development and definitely contribute towards the next discussion. Thanks for watching.